Welcome to Marketing Today. I'm your host, Alan Hart, managing partner of Atomic, combining brand science and creative fire. Today on the show, I've got Tom Asacker, keynote speaker, advisor, and author of The Business of Belief. The conversation moves from how perception and desires form the beliefs that we have about our own organizations, as well as those beliefs that consumers have about us, how to sell more and how to market more, and also how Simon Sinek, a person with a TEDx video with over 29 million views, has gotten it wrong and led marketers astray. Well, Tom, welcome to the show. I'd love to know, what is it that you do? What is it that you do?
Yeah, what is it? That's a good question. What do I do? How do I earn a living? Is probably what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do a little bit of advisory work, but I'm an author and a speaker and a teacher about radically new practices and ideas for success in chaotic times of uncertainty and change like these. So my goal is to wake people up to the realities of the world and help them do their best work.
Tell me a little bit more about that, waking them up. When we last talked, you talked about one of the things you do is to try to eliminate confusion of how people make decisions in the workplace, whether it's
Right.
to launch a new product or otherwise. You know, how are you doing that? How are you waking them up, and what's that confusion that gets in the way?
Yeah. Have you ever heard the story about the two young fish swimming along, and they come across this older fish swimming towards them, and the older fish says, "Morning, boys. How's the water?" And then the fish swim on, and then one young fish looks to the other one, and he says, "What the hell is water?" So what I try to do is show people what the water is that they're swimming in, because they're so deeply into it that they really can't see what's going on. They're misinterpreting the external world, specifically how other people make meaning and make decisions. So that's what I try to wake them up to.
Okay. How do you go about doing that? Like, what are there methods, or you smack them around a little bit? Like,
Yeah,
what
exactly.
happens?
Yeah, exactly. With a stick. Look, William James once said that genius means little more than the faculty of perceiving in an unhabitual way. So the people that bring me in and work with them or speak to their groups, they are seeing things in a habitual way. And sometimes it's been going on for years or decades. So what I do is come in and try to show them the reality of the world in a way that they haven't seen before, that will wake them up, because in this marketplace, talented people are not going to succeed any longer. You're going to need to be a genius, right? Like Schopenhauer said, talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. So things like Uber and Facebook and Twitter and Google, all of these companies, that wasn't talent, that was genius. Somebody saw something no one else could see, and they went out and did it. And a lot of companies can't see that because of the way they operate. It's habitual. Nobody has come in and woken them up so that they can see the realities of the marketplace.
If you think about those organizations, where do you think they're going wrong in thinking about those markets or those customers? How do they change their thinking process?
Yeah, they won't be able to change their thinking. What they have to do is change their perceptions. They have to change how they see the world. See, mostly I would say that where they're going wrong is in this false belief that human beings operate like computers somehow. So this whole metaphor that the brain is like a computer is really messing people up, because then you start thinking that, okay, I know what to do then. If it's like a computer, I have to give them the right data, then they'll process the information, and then they'll try to make an optimal decision. And because our information and our features and quality and whatever it is, because ours is better, quote unquote, then they will choose us. And that could not be further from the truth. No one makes decisions like that. Human beings are moving so rapidly through the world, just trying to get by on a daily basis. There is very little that even enters their conscious awareness, right? They're just being pushed and pulled by their perceptions and their feelings. So unless you really viscerally understand that, everything that you produce will be invisible to them. They just won't see it. Even though you think they do, they don't see it.
So if they're not computers, how are they operating? What kind of inputs do we need to give them? Maybe that's even the wrong way to think about it.
No. It's a perfect way to think about it. So if it's not information that's driving their decisions, if it's something else, what's the something else? Now, trust me, I did a deep dive on this because I couldn't understand why everyone I was working with told me that they understood what I was saying, and I gave them all the information that they needed, but then they didn't do anything. So I said, well, then that's no different than what's going on in the marketplace. All these companies are giving people information and they're not choosing them. What is going on? And when you dig deep enough into it, you find out that human beings are driven by their perceptions and their desires. You know, you add that up and you've got beliefs. And so their feelings, their perceptions, their desires are what end up giving them this feeling of knowing, if you will, an expectation. It's not real. It's their personal expectation. Then they look for information to validate that. And anything that comes in, any information that enters their mind or their perceptions that cause them some discomfort, right? They call that cognitive dissonance. What they do is they ignore that information. They push it out, or they discount it, or they argue against it. So if you don't understand that people are being driven by their feelings and their desires, you have absolutely no chance in the marketplace.
If beliefs, these combination of perceptions and desires which make up belief systems are key, how do people form those beliefs? Like where do they come from?
Yeah, it's really interesting. The simple construct is this. You have to perceive something in your environment before your mind will do anything with it. Now, I know that sounds simple, like, oh, duh, Tom. But I can tell you, we go through most of the day, we do not perceive what's in our environment. It blends in. It doesn't stand out because it's something that's expected. We don't look at it. So most marketers, for example, don't understand this. They don't understand that unexpected events are what trigger learning and consciousness. So they'll throw ads in magazines, or they'll put something on Twitter or Facebook or here or there. Nobody is even seeing this stuff. Because think about it. If you saw all this stuff, how would you get anything done during the day? You couldn't. You couldn't,
True.
right?
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. So what you do is you tune all of it out except for something that confuses you. Then you start investigating it a little and you say, okay, what is this? The next thing that happens is your feelings kick in. So the look, the feel, the aesthetics, all of these different things kick in, and it either says to you, this is something I might like, or it says to you, this is nothing I'm going to like. It's not me. It's the wrong font, wrong sensibilities, wrong message, wrong words. And so you don't go any further. But if the feeling says, I think there's something of value in here to me, then you go to the next step, which is thinking about it. That's when you dig through a little information. I might like this, and then you make a decision. So it's you sense something, you feel something, then you think about it after you get done feeling it, and then you make a decision. But everyone thinks it's opposite. They think you sense something, then you think about it. Right? It's like you sense this thing, and then you say, well, let me read all of this now to see how I feel. No, you're not going to read it unless it feels like something that you want to read. So your feelings are the things that are telling your thinking mind, we should waste some time over here because this may be valuable. That's it. But until you get that, nothing is going to happen.
Interesting. Are there companies or examples you pepper out there to give us an illustration of how this takes place?
Yeah, well, they're everywhere, right? So well, first of all, most of the companies don't get it. You know that, right?
Right.
I mean,
just fades into the background.
Oh, yeah. Look, I read a statistic that said that 52% of the Fortune 500 have gone bankrupt, merged, acquired, or fallen off the list since 2000. And then the average age of a company since the S&P was formed in 1960 has dropped from 60 years to 12. So
Wow.
These people that you think are doing it right, These brands that you look at and you say, oh, yeah, these are well-known brands. Everybody knows who these people are. They've got great quality. They got great brand names. They're well-known, great advertising. They're not making it, man. And you can throw these names out there like Prince Spaghetti, Polaroid, Kmart, Chiquita Banana, Vlasic Pickle, General Motors, Sports Authority, Muzak, TWA, Schwinn Bicycle, Sunbeam Bread. All of these are like well-known brands. They're all bankrupt. They've all gone bankrupt.
Right.
So what's going on? What's going on is they cannot see what's going on right in front of their eyes. Look, John Cahill, he's the CEO of Kraft Foods Group. Last February, he was on an earnings conference call with Wall Street analysts. He said, and I'm going to quote what he said. He said, it's clear that our world has changed and our consumers have changed, but our company has not changed enough. Now, if you dig into those words and you say, what can this guy possibly mean by that? He wasn't saying that they didn't have the will to change enough. He was saying we didn't see what had to change. And that's it. That's what's going on.
Do you have an example of a company you think is doing it right or has at some point done it right?
Every company that has sales success is doing something right for some audience. Now, that sales success has to come along with growth and operating profits, right? Because anybody can sell anything at a loss. I can do it, right? So you've got to look at their operating income and say, okay, their sales are growing. Are their operating profits growing too? Yeah. Okay, then they've got the model figured out. I mean, Apple's the poster boy. So if you look at Apple, what brought them to where they are today was this understanding that people buy things with their feelings first, by the look and feel of the packaging, by the way the advertising evokes emotions and feelings, all of that stuff. But they're somebody to keep an eye on because I think they've lost their way as well. Because as soon as you do something, everybody starts catching up with you. And before you know it, the Microsoft stores look like the Apple stores.
It's true. It's very true. So one of the comments you made to me when we last spoke was a comment about Simon Sinek.
I shouldn't have said that, huh?
Well, I like, I guess, a million other people have watched that TED Talk on the circle, right? And why being in the center. So I'm curious to get your perspective on, how's he got it wrong? What's wrong about what Simon says?
Yeah, what Simon says. Listen, his conclusion is one of the most dangerous ideas for marketers to embrace, for business leaders to embrace, and I'll tell you why. His conclusion is people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I've created a lot of stuff in the past that's been birthed by an inner voice that says to me, do this. No one in the world knows what that why was. When they buy one of my books, they have no idea why I did that book. That's not the reason that they're buying it. They're buying it for their own reasons. Their own desires are what's driving them to buy that. And when you're driven by your internal why, you start forgetting that what's really important is how do we bring this value to life so that these busy people out in the marketplace, busy, distrustful, skeptical people, how do we get them to see the value in this like we do? That's not a why, that's a how. And anybody that I'm saying this to that listens, that's really having an issue with it, because everybody has an issue with it. See, it feels good to believe that if we have this strong purpose, that everybody will come and get it and buy it. But it's not true. I've worked with hundreds of nonprofits. They have the greatest purposes in the world, and a lot of them struggle. So it's not your purpose. It's how do you bring that thing to life for others, right? So it's yin and yang, man. There's the inside, which is your purpose. Absolutely be driven and inspire your people and yourself with your purpose. But then when you look to the outside, understand that that's a totally different ball game out there. You have to be driven what brings them their value, what excites them.
Right.
their perceptions. It's tricky.
So it's
Do
not,
you, do, do you know what I mean?
no, I get it. I mean, you're saying essentially it's not, it's important to have a why, your own personal why, but it's even more important if you were trying to sell something to know their why.
I don't say it's more important. See,
Okay.
this is where this is my issue with Simon. I love what he says. I believe everything he says except for his statement.
Mm.
People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That is false. They don't buy why you do it. All you've got to do is go ask people that you meet, whatever they're wearing or driving or drinking or eating or wherever they are, right? Ask them, do you know what the why of this automobile manufacturer is? Do you know what the why is of the people that own this restaurant? They will say, what are you, nuts? Of course not. I eat
Right.
here because I love the food, the pricing's good, whatever.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. No, you put it that way and it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. It's even comical to think about it, to be honest.
Yeah, it is.
Well, good. Well, hey, I've got a couple questions. I want to kind of step back and talk about you. But before I do that, I want to allow you, how do people find you? Where do they go?
They can just go to thebusinessofbelief.com.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
only one guy named Tom Asacker in the world that spells it like I do, so they can find me if they Google my name. It's Asacker. So they'll
Okay.
find me. I'm all over the
Okay.
place.
Oh,
Not
great.
always in
Oh,
a good
great.
way, but I'm all over the place.
Well, so stepping back from all this, what fuels you? What drives you to do what you do?
That's a really deep. It's a really deep question because I've done a lot of things. I wasn't born in educated to be a writer. I mean, I worked for GE, bought out one of their companies when I was in my 30s with some other managers. In my early 40s, I started a medical device company and grew that like crazy. Left all that and opened a strategic brand consultancy. I kind of do what my inner voice is speaking to me to do. So if it says, you should write a book about this, I honestly don't even think of, this is my point about the why. I don't even think about the external world. I don't say, well, maybe the world wants it, maybe they don't. Nope. I do it because I'm driven internally to make it happen. But then once I get done with it, oh yeah, I figure out how to put the right cover on it, what fonts to use, how to market it. All that stuff comes later. I'm just, like I said, I'm driven by what I feel. If I feel something and it feels time to do something, I do it. I just got finished writing a screenplay to have a movie produced. Why? I
Wow.
have no idea. I don't even know.
I would love to watch it. So you got one viewer already.
All
You
right,
got one
thanks.
viewer.
Me too. I want to see it too.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So if you think about like this may be an odd question for someone like yourself, but you think about brands or companies out in the marketplace, any that you take notice of or you think, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Now, what's interesting is as I watch what all of them are doing to try to understand whether there's see I can see the value very quickly in what somebody's doing because I've been trying to find it and tease it apart for decades. So it comes really quickly to me. I see it. I can see through it and I can feel it. And then what I try to figure out after I do is this sustainable value? See, because a lot of things we don't understand, you and I, because it's below, we're not aware of it. We love Uber, right? But we have
Right.
absolutely no idea if these guys are making money
Right.
or if they ever will. I don't know. So there's a lot of new business models popping up that you look and you say, can these people make money? But
Right.
there are other ones you look at that you can easily tease apart, like Airbnb. Right? I've got a friend that's like one of these super hosts for Airbnb. She
Hmm.
makes a lot of money. So I know if she's making a lot of money, Airbnb's making a lot of money.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I look at these different equations. Take, for example, Dollar Shave Club. When I saw that thing pop out in 2012, I said, uh-oh, these guys are appealing to a specific desire in the marketplace. a specific psychographic of men, they are going to grow quickly because that's a huge market. And they did grow quickly, even though everybody else said it looked crazy. And they just sold the company for $1 billion like 4 months ago to Unilever. Right. So it's that kind of thing. It's not, are you better? It's, are you different? And are you appealing to people that really desire that difference, whatever that difference is? So that's how I look at brands today. Because a lot of legacy brands are still using some scale advantage, whatever that happens to be, or some barrier to entry. That's what they're doing. And they're hoping to goodness that technology doesn't disrupt them somehow, come around backdoor and get them. But it's these exciting new brands that I look at that are going after particular audiences, and they don't have to worry anymore about whether this audience is in their location because the internet allows them to have an audience spread out across the world.
I like that. So if you think about the future of marketing in particular, where do you think marketing is going to go?
Yeah, I'm not big on predicting the future, but I can tell you, if they don't develop a theory really soon of how, if marketers don't look at how they're looking at the world through some particular kind of lens, a particular theory, and they don't. I mean, if you want to find out something really interesting, ask anyone, any corporate executive, agency, ask them, say, tell me what your model is, your theory of how you look at the world and approach it. They're not. It's kind of like somebody putting together a puzzle who doesn't have a picture on the cover of the box. They're just taking whatever's thrown at them, trying to jam it together to make a picture, and it won't work. It was funny. I was reading about Galileo, and here's this guy is the smartest man in the world back in the early 1600s. Einstein called him the father of modern science. And he's looking up in the sky with his telescope, and he saw mountains on the moon and spots on the sun and moons around Jupiter. But when he looked at Saturn, it looked like 3 little spheres, a big one and then 2 little ones on either side. So he called Saturn 3 stars. Every single person I've shown that picture to, I say, can you see that Saturn's not 3 stars? Because Galileo drew the picture in his notebook. Everybody looks at it and says, yeah, I can see that's a ring around a planet. I said, well, then how come this guy, Galileo, who's way smarter than you, how come he couldn't see it? And what they realize is that he didn't have an idea in his head that Saturn has a ring around it. So he couldn't see it. And that's what's going on with marketers. If they don't develop a theory for how the world works, they are not going to ever see it. And they're just going to get frustrated and confused. They're not going to understand why nothing's working. So I think the future of marketing is that it's going to have to become a little bit more scientific, and we're going to have to get people to adopt a theory of how they look at things. And then they can look at all the different tactics they come up with through this lens to see whether they're good, bad, or what needs to be changed. That's my opinion.
Great. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, it was great. I'll do it anytime you want. Let me know.
I'll definitely have you back. That's for sure.
All right, great. I appreciate it, Alan. Thank you very much.